But Swati, let's tell our viewers that Sterlite Technologies has posted a healthy Q4 with profits up 16%, and that's at 64 crores. The stock, however, has been trading under pressure. And just to help us decode those earnings of the quarter gone by, joining us now on this show is the CFO, Anupam Jindal. Mr. Jindal, thank you very much for coming in and speaking to us right here. If you could just run us through the quarter that's gone by in terms of the highlights that you perceive.
Sure, Fatima. So, good afternoon. This quarter which has gone by has been one of the best quarters we have ever had. On a flat revenue of 700 crore, our EBITDA has grown significantly to 166 crore, as against 145 crore last quarter. But overall, I think overall, if you look at the year, it has a lot of positives in terms of we had launched our expansion program in July, which we are almost very close to that of 30 million, which we had announced that we will be closing the capacity at. And in addition to that, overall PAT has grown to 201 crore for the full year against 151 crore, against again a very good growth. In terms of order book, we have closed the year at 3,000 crore against 2,200 crore at the year back. So these are a couple of highlights. In terms of the financial side, the debt has come down from 1,005 crore to 919 crore. That has been a very positive sign, reflecting a significant reduction in debt to equity. We are now close to 1 against 1.3 at the last year. So these are various positives which we have done in spite of having 200 crore of capex. After that, also we have been able to generate healthy cash flow of about 160 crore.
Sure. Anupam, of course, these are the numbers that you've dissected for us, but I want to ask specifically on the finance cost, and that has come in lower. Have you managed to repay any debt? Give us those numbers if you can.
Yeah, so basically this has been the drive that we wanted to retain the debt number in the range of about 1,000 crore in spite of delivering strong growth on both the volume and overall revenue. And that is something which we draw all throughout the year. The major impact could come in Q4, and that is what we have seen. Coupled with the reduction in overall interest rate in the country, we have seen good impact of reduction in the interest cost in the current quarter.
All right. So, Mr. Jindal, can you just tell us in terms of exports, which regions do you see gaining higher traction?
Yeah, so for us, China and Europe, these are the two regions which constitute almost like 70-75% of our export. Overall export for the company has been about 37% of the revenue. We had almost like 957 crore of export against 547 crore of export in the last year, so healthy growth of 75%. And within that, China, Europe has been the large market. But in addition to that, we have presence all across the world, particularly Southeast Asia, Middle East Asia, and Latin America. So these are the large markets other than these two countries. And we have, as I said, in the overall growth of revenue, these markets have constituted major share.
Right. Anupam, just hold your thought. We'll try and cut across to a press briefing that is being held on revival plans for the fertilizer units under Fertilizer Ministry. And we have Anant Kumar talking right now. Let's listen in.
कुछ 3-4 महीने पहले ठीक हो चुका है और जो 5 लाख प्रोसीजर्स पिछले साल हुए थे.
Thank you, friends, and I thank the ministers on the dais. Thanks for being present here. Thank you.
All right, so that was the minister outlining the plans of the fertilizer sector and talk about the sick units, and they're trying to revive some of these plants that have been not doing so well. In fact, we are seeing some reaction on the stocks coming in on the back of this commentary. Madras Fertilizer is a stock that, in fact, is reacting basis those comments. See the stock surging as soon as we heard the minister say that Madras Fertilizer has started making profits on back of NAFTA subsidies. The idea is to to revive these plants. Revival of 5 fertilizer plants is something that the minister has spoken about. This will add 7.5 million tons per annum to urea output. In fact, the idea is to make India become urea exporter post revival of the 5 plants that one is talking about as far as urea. Earlier, the unavailability of urea or naphtha was a concern, but now availability is something that they are working on. So that's some important commentary coming in from the fertilizer minister, and the stocks reacting in that sense. But let's continue our conversation with Anupam Jindal from Sterlite Technology. We were talking about the numbers. Anupam, thanks for patiently sitting by. But tell us about capacity expansion plans, and I want to ask you about FY18 capex plans as well, which will be, how much funds are you looking to deploy, how much is already spent, and where will these funds be deployed really?
Yeah, so Fatima, in line with the global growth which we are seeing in the fiber market, and based on the continuous engagement with our existing and potential customers, we realize that we need to increase our capacity, which itself is a little bit long gestation period. So we are now increasing our capacity from 30 million to 50 million kilometer of fiber per annum basis, and this will be completed by middle of the calendar year 19, by which we will reach 50 million and we will be among the top 5, top 3 companies in the world. The total capex for this will be 1,000 to 1,200 crore, which will be spent over the next 3 financial year, including FY18. Typically, we have been doing 200, 220, 30 crore kind of capex every year. So this capex will also be spread over 2 to 3 years. And in FY18, particularly with our past capex, which we are doing for increasing capacity from 22 million to 30 million, as well as part of this capex, which we'll start doing, overall capex could be in the range of about 350 crore for FY18. And balance of the capex will be spent in FY19 and 20. So this is how the capex is going to spread out.
Sure. Mr. Jindal, can you just flesh out a little bit of how much of this is going to be from internal accruals and how much is going to be from debt?
Yeah, so based on the assessment which we have done and the growth which we have showcased and will continue to show, I believe that we will generate sufficient internal accruals which will be sufficient for the capex program which we have launched. So largely that will be funded through internal accruals. Maybe some small part can be funded through debt. I would like to mention that since we have already brought down debt to equity to about 1, our intention is to maintain our current debt profile at that level. And I believe that with our growth projections, we can maintain that. We are comfortable maintaining that level even during the intervening period till the capacity comes online.
Yeah, that's right, Anupam. Also, Sterlite Technologies, we heard recently had announced to invest 1,200 crore rupees in new optical fiber plant. If you can elaborate and update us on the same, in terms of how much is the capacity one is looking at, and more details about the plant.
Yeah, so that is what I just said, but it is basically saying that 30 million which we are about to reach by September 17, we are already using that capacity almost at 100%. So from 30 to 50 is this capex, which will be 1,200 crore, and this will be spent over 3 years, most of which will be through our internal accruals, which will generate over next 3 years.
Mr. Jindal, of course, you've talked to us about the capacity plans that you have, as well as how you expect the company to go going forward. Are there any sort of risks in the system that you're sort of considering at this stage and perhaps aligning the company for?
Yeah, so basically, typical risk about this business has always been about continuous growth of fiber, but we have seen over the last decade and more that fiber has been the single most important medium for data growth, which has been happening around the world. We are actually living in a hyper connected world. And over the period, we have seen that more and more of fiber is getting deployed as the telecom industry is moving and evolving from 2G to 3G, 3G to 4G, and now 4G to 5G. More and more fiber is getting deployed world over. So I think from risk perspective, definitely some of that risk remains. But if you look at from 3 to 5 years perspective, we are seeing strong signs of this continuous growth in fiber all across geographies, including China, US. We have recently heard one of the largest telecom company having a partnership deal with one of the largest fiber producer for 3 years, worth about $1 billion. So that's the sign. We have not heard this kind of deal happening in last so many years. That is very positive sign which we see. We have been one of the few global players who have this capability of producing fiber right from the sand or silica. So I think leveraging that position, we are very confident that we don't see major risk in implementing this plan and having right utilization for next few years.
All right, Mr. Jindal, Anupam Jindal, CFO at Sterlite Technology, many thanks for joining us and sharing your views on how the numbers have been. Sterlite Technology is a stock that has been in focus, healthy Q4, but the stock was under pressure and is down about 1.3% as we speak. We will now go ahead and talk about another company that's in focus. That's Tata Sponge for you, and that's a company that has seen a good quarter again, a healthy Q4 with profits up 62%. In fact,